Hello, hello, hello. I am Zakiya Monique, Master Relationship Strategist, transformational speaker, best-selling author of Killer Connections, and I'm also the facilitator of the Safe Space, which is a very safe place for you to come and kickstart your healing process. In the Safe Space, we talk about breaking generational curses, cutting soul ties, and healing rejection, which no one I know can say that they have never dealt with some level of rejection. And if we're not careful, it will show itself in our lives on a daily basis in some ways that we may not even recognize. So, if you're not a member of the Safe Space, it's a complimentary group. Come on over. www.zmsafespace.com www.zmsafespace.com. But today I want to welcome you to another edition of Moments with Mo. I love Moments with Mo because it allows me the opportunity to talk briefly about a subject and to just give my perspective on it. And today I want to talk about the weight, WEIGHT, of the weight, WAIT. And so this morning I was washing dishes, and I've always been an inquisitive child. And even in an adult into adulthood, I've been an inquisitive adult. And my dad used to say that I ask a lot of questions, and I do, right? Okay, and do. And so this morning, I just kind of was like, why we gotta wait? Why we gotta wait on stuff? Why we gotta wait? Especially in the area of relationships. Like, why do we have to wait? If I've done the work to get myself together, why do I have to wait? God, you brought me to this person, or you want me to be with this person, and I get here and they're not ready. Why do I have to wait? Well, first of all, God said, you're not as ready as you think you are. And I was like appalled, like, oh, me? Like, I'm not ready. and um and then I'm like, okay, you're right. There are some things obviously that I need to work out because, some of us are saying we want this mate and we want this beautiful marriage, and we don't realize that it is work, right? And if we look at our schedule, schedules, we're busy. So what you gonna do? You gonna put them in a corner till you get back? Right. And that's what God showed me. Like, as busy as you are and as much as you're doing right now, you have to create space for that person. And so part of the wait is you learning to create space for this person in your life, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fair. But why can't they be ready? Why can't they be ready? We meet and we go from there because we see it happen for so many other people. But it seems like when it gets to us, it's like, I gotta wait. Why I gotta wait? The weight of the wait is heavy. And let me just tell you what God said. He said to me that until he knows who he is and until he knows why he is, he's not going to be able to effectively lead you. And furthermore, until he submits to God and allows God to show him how to love him first. So, first, this mate needs to know how to love God. Then he needs to know how to love him. And in loving him, he needs to learn who he is and why he is. And then he has the capacity to love you. The problem is, many of us, if we're honest, have chosen people who didn't know who they were and didn't know why they were, meaning purpose. And then we decided that because he had muscles and because he was fine as wine in the summertime, or because he had money and because he was paid and laid, or because he was good in the room, or because he, complimented your life in some way, we gonna be together, right? And we didn't realize that he didn't know who he was and he didn't know why he was, but we decided to submit to him anyway, right? And so we submitted to him. We wanted to trust him, we wanted to be with him, and we wanted it to be right, but it wasn't right. It couldn't be right. And this is part of the healing process that I help my clients with, because I help them to understand their part in the process of the breakdown. Because why do you really think, where is he going to lead you to? Where? If a person doesn't know who they are and they don't know why they are, then where are they going to lead you to? The where can't come before the who or the why. And so oftentimes we don't understand that in the wait, many of the men, especially African American men, do not go to counseling. And so because they have been subject to some of the same traumas that we have, and then they've been told, you don't cry, right? Because you don't cry. Boys don't cry. You don't cry. So they're not allowed to release. They're not allowed to be weak, quote unquote. And the definition for weak is amazing in our community, right? So they're not allowed to weep. They're not allowed to cry. They're not allowed to release. They're not allowed to do anything, that would help them. And then they're taught, you don't go to therapy. You strong. You a man. You don't tell nobody your business and all of this stuff. So therefore, I was getting this revelation all while I'm doing dishes, because God was telling me, hey, these guys have not been to therapy. These guys have not gotten the help that they need. And we expect for them, carrying all this trauma and drama, to be ready when we get there. Even though we've gone through our process, be ready when we get there, and to lead us effectively, to love us unconditionally. How, Sway? Where did they get these tools from? Who taught them how to do it? Because let's be real, even if they went to church, even if they went to school, the adults there were broken too. How many times did they go up to the church and Deacon so and so had two families? The pastor was sleeping with some of the congregation. I mean, I'm not saying that happens in every church. I'm not saying that. But my point is, even in some of the community centers and the places that, were supposed to be mentors for some of the young men, they didn't have real mentorship that was upright and upstanding and loving God and all of that. A lot of times they didn't. Now, if you were in a place where they did, you were very fortunate. But my point is, we have to allow God, just like he does with us and takes us through a process, we have to allow God to take them through the process. If he's chosen this person for us, it's because we have a work to do. If he's chosen this person for us, it's because that person has some things that complement our lives. But we have to be patient enough to wait. And the only time that the weight gets too heavy to bear is when we're not doing what we're supposed to do during the wait. So ask yourself today, am I waiting well? And let me be clear, it is not going to be a check in the box every day. Some days we're just not going to get it right. Some days it's going to be heavy. It is, because we're human, because we're looking side to side, like Sarah saying, wait a minute, God, do you know how old I am? Because we're looking side to side, like David, Dad, I am out here in the field. David's dad was offering up all his other sons when Samuel came and said, it's a king here. It's a king here. Where your son? Oh, here's my sons. Here's this one. Here's that one. Dad, I'm out here in the field. Sometimes we want to remind God that we're out here in the field, Lord. Lord, did you forget that I'm out here in the field working? Did you forget me, Lord? He didn't forget. He didn't forget. And I'm speaking to myself too. He didn't forget. He's not slack on his promises. His promises are yea and amen. However, we have to wait. And when the weight of the weight gets heavy, understand that it is because oftentimes our counterparts didn't get the opportunities that we have had to go to counseling, and oftentimes even with going to God, because they've been through so much trauma, they don't trust him either. So it takes a breakdown. God has to break down the barrier of them trusting him, right? And then they have to break, God has to break all of the things that, they've gone through, break all of that down, soften his heart. It's such a process. But I believe that for those who wait upon the Lord, and I'm speaking to myself too, you have no idea, there will be an amazing reward. And that's whether you're waiting on a marriage, that's whether you're waiting on a job, that's whatever you're waiting on. Understand that sometimes, I remember a couple years ago, I'll say this and I'm gonna close out. A couple years ago, some years ago, I was working in a position. I hated the position because I felt like, God, I've worked, I've gone to school. Why am I starting over again? And God spoke to me and said, I'm putting you with Saul so that you don't become Saul. I was amazed. He was putting me with someone to show me what not to be. Sometimes God will put us with great examples, and sometimes God will put us with poor examples so that we know what not to do, right? And so the minute that I adjusted my attitude, the minute that I got the lesson and got the blessing, boom, got a position that doubled my pay. So it was worth it. And God, recall every time I get frustrated with the weights in my life, God reminds me of the weights that have been rewarding. So just take a moment and reflect back to the weights that have been so rewarding for the times that he have brought you through and brought you to something that you could never imagine, because he says that he's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. And the power that's working in you right now is the power to wait. I love you so very much. I certainly hope this has helped you. Again, if you haven't come to the safe space, come on, because maybe that's part of your process of waiting too. You can come to www.zmsafespace.com. Have a great one.